What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome back. So if we look back at last year, I have all of the stats here for the major players in the AFC West. This started out with just being the Raiders, but I did throw in the rest of the guys, especially because they were there for most of the games, and we can compare them. So that's how everything went down last year. When we look at it, here's Carr's really good stint without an interception. There's that 90% game against the Broncos. Here's everything. Here's his yardage. If I take it over a little bit for you, you can see Amari Cooper, the little bit that he did, and then I threw in his career yardage there. And then we have the red guys and everybody else. Anyway, so let's try to predict what this new season is going to look like. When we look at this, right, I'm going to try to predict what our record's going to be. But here's the thing, our schedule's really hard. So this is going to be live. You're going to have to work through this with me. And we're going to kind of talk it out. We're going to start with the division. I'm going to say that the Broncos... I'm going to say that we beat the Broncos both times. At the end of the year in their house, that's going to be for playoff implications. And then to start the year off, at least for sure. So let's fill that in. The Chiefs, that puts us at 1-0. The Chiefs, I think, are going to be a really good team again next year. I'm going to just go ahead and get this out of the way. Let's go ahead and give that a loss. I know, I don't like it either, but they're going to be a really good team. Another really good team that we should probably see as long as injuries go okay are the Packers. After our bye, let's say we lose to them. I'm going to knock out a couple of these easy ones and then we'll talk out the rest. Which is actually pretty much now. If we look at the Chargers real quick, I'm going to say that we probably split with them. So basically the question is, which one are we going to win? Let's say we win the one when we're at home. You might be asking, what am I basing this off of? So, the Chiefs, like I kind of said, they're going to be really tough. The Chargers, we were hanging in with them already. Let's go back to here. We had good games here. Look at the interceptions. Low interceptions. I mean, honestly, everything looks okay here. It's these one-offs that got out of hand. So, we were in the games with the Chargers. I remember they spanked us right here. So, let's go ahead and say that we split with them. And I'm going to say that we lose this one here at home. In their home. Which, is basically like a home game for us too. So we have 2 wins on the season. We can fill in some easy wins as well. I think we're going to start out the year going 2-1. Chiefs are in there, so you know what's going on with that. Vikings, well, listen, we have Antonio Brown, we have Trent Brown. I'm going to keep saying that through this whole thing. We have Cleveland now, we have Josh Jacobs, who's going to have to show up for us, and as you can see, he's on the board listed, as well as AB. So we'll be tracking them during the whole year. I'm going to say we have a good game here against the Vikings, and we do get a win. The Colts, now the Colts are hard. Between the Colts and the Texans, they're both really good. The Texans went 11-5 last year, and that's with a bad offensive line. Now they drafted a tackle in the first round, so let's say they're really good next year again. The Texans beat us. It's in Houston as well. I'm going to say that for these games here, The Colts were a really good team. They got Marlon Mack. Ebron was a touchdown machine. 2 road games in a row. Let's leave the Colts for now. The Bears, I'm maybe it's just the Raider pride in me, but I'm gonna say that we beat the Bears in London. It's supposed to be our home game, so I'm thinking that we handle it correct this year, and we get there early. We prepare for them, and hopefully this is a game to remember. Carr goes crazy, and honestly, the main thing here is their defense. Trubisky isn't really much for us to worry about. We have a really good secondary now. We're going to be, kind of in the groove after Andrew Luck and Pat Mahomes, Kirk Cousins. And Trubisky, I don't know if he's going to be as high level as some of the guys that we're facing. We got Abram back there. I'm going to say that we beat the Bears. So we'll leave the Colts there a little bit for now. The next one that we can look at is the Lions. They're coming to Oakland. If you look at the draft, they took T.J. Hawkinson, so that kind of gives them some points, right? They'll be not a touchdown heavy team, but they had Galladay, and I remember they had a good running game. So last year it looks like they went 6-10. So I'm gonna say that we beat the Lions just by adding a tight end. I don't think that solidifies them enough. I think they're going to be one of the weaker opponents in their division as well, especially with the Bears and Packers, Lions, and then we have, who else? The Vikings. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. I'm trying to be realistic here. Let's look at this next one here. The Bengals are coming to town. We have Gunther. We have Perfect. I'm going to say that that's our 6th win. Maybe this is our 7th win by this point. If we look at the Jets, we always have a problem going east for whatever reason. It's the time change, it's the travel miles. Sheesh, by this point we're gonna be middle of the season, already have a ton of miles under our belts, injuries, it's several weeks after the bye, so this will be a tough game. But listen, the Jets are the Jets, and they went 4-12 last year. They're really no better than what we looked last year, and we got a lot better. So I'm going to say that we beat the Jets. I think a lot of people can agree with me there. So we're at 7 wins. We're getting closer to where we probably should be. I said earlier that we should be beating the Broncos. So we will. So we're at 8 wins. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're not going to have a losing season. We have a few tough decisions, though. The easiest one is probably the Titans here. They're coming to town. Of all of these, I'm going to say that we win. So that puts us at 9-7 on the season if these are losses. The Colts are going to be really tough. And the Jags at this point, they weren't the best in their division. They were 4th in the division. They went 5-11. But at this point, there could be playoff implications. They have a good defense. They do have Josh Allen, which we almost had. And they have Nick Foles. Let's say even if we lose both of these, I'll even kind of go against us a little bit here. Just so it doesn't seem too Raider heavy, because if I have 2 wins here, then we're going 11-5. And that seems a little ridiculous, especially with losses to the Chiefs, and we're going to split the Chargers. There's some losses that may be in here, so to try to keep it realistic, we may really lose this last home game here in Oakland. And earlier in the season here, going to Indianapolis against Andrew Luck, they're a good team. They may best us. They scored a lot of points on us last year. So there's a look at what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 9-7 seems okay, seems realistic, it seems possible. Before last year, before the Cooper and Mack and everything, I had us going 9-7 also. So middle of the pack, I think we're gonna be, what would that put us, 3-3 in the division? So I think we'll be kind of in there in the neighborhood for wild card, or depending on where the rest of the division is. Man, 10 wins is pretty close. And 8-8 is also pretty close there too. So we'll see what happens. There's my rough estimate for what we'll be looking at for next year. If we try to look at our rookies as well, let's say everybody knows this number, right? Let's say that Cleveland has 13 sacks by himself. Seems like a lot for a rookie. I understand that, but I want to set the bar high for our rookies. He's our fourth pick. Or, I mean, I guess I should say he's the overall fourth pick in this draft here. And he was the first defensive end taken off. We have a good cast around him. Let's not forget about Mo Hurst and P.J. Hall. And, again, like I said, that's the number of sacks that we had last year in total. So, I'm going to say that Cleveland has 12 or 13 sacks. 3 forced fumbles also. He gets in there, he gets his arm in, he's used to forced fumbles, and he's used to big games, so I'm going to give him 3. If we look at Josh Jacobs, I don't think there's any reason he can't be a 1,000-yard receiver and running back. To be honest with you, we've told him over and over that he's going to be the bell cow. Isaiah Crowell just went out with an Achilles injury, and I believe we might bring in Doug Martin. And actually, Marshawn Lynch has even said that he would play for us if we asked him to. So he may have some backup, but I think he's going to be the main thing. And everybody talks about Chris Warren kind of being up in the air, so maybe he's not so solid as I think he's going to be, but I thought he was on the team for sure. He may take a few touches away, but there's no reason Josh Jacobs can't be a 1,000-yard running back and then also have some receiving yards on there too. He is a good receiver, but just rushing, I think we can hit 1,000 yards. If we look at touchdowns, I think we should say that he's in the 13 or 14 range, and that's combined. Receiving, let's say maybe he has 2 or 3. I don't think there's any way that asking 10 rushing touchdowns is too much. We like to run, and against some of these opponents, that's going to really open up Antonio Brown, and they're going to be moving back for Tyrell Williams and him. We got Renfro running up the middle, so I think the running game's going to be good this year. I'll tell you guys, this is coming from a Raider fan perspective, so if you can't tell, I'm saying that we're going to be pretty kick-ass next year. John Abrams, our next one, he's going to be our hard hitter, but I do think he's going to be around the ball a lot. So I feel comfortable putting him at around 3 interceptions. Same thing for Trayvon Mullen as well. We won't go into tackles and everything, but I think we can say 3 or 4 interceptions is not asking too crazy of a rookie. We have a good secondary, and Conley's going to get his share as well, but if they're not targeting Conley and we have Mullen on the other side or Abram in there, I think that they get their shots as well. So let's say that they both have a goal of 3 interceptions. In total, it's a really hyped year. Like I'm saying, we should have a really good sack total. We should have interceptions. Our rushers should be killing it. Carr, I think, is going to be over 4K again, or at least that's absolutely the expectation. In fact, I think 4,400, 4,500 is in his range there. Big Ben's was always throwing 5K, and I think a lot of that is because Antonio Brown is inflating that. So Carr should have some yardage, and Antonio Brown should be up there as well, man. He's good for 1,200 yards. He's the big name. He's the number one. I'm not going to sit here and say that he can't hit a yardage total. So he's up there. He has big expectations. He had 15 touchdowns by himself last year. I'm going to say his goal is 1,200 yards, and let's give him 13 touchdowns. Let me know what you guys think. This may be way too high. A lot of people have their opinion, and this may be completely off of what you think. So let me know. Let's have some kind of a conversation. Again, this is just a rough look at it. Some of these picks are hard because, like, that Jets game can be close. Bengals can be like an upset surprise that we are not looking at. Maybe they're killer next year. I doubt it. The Lions I was on the fence about. So let's put us right there about 9-7, and we'll see how that plays out. We have preseason to look at. We have camp and everything coming up. It's pretty early in the off season, so keep tuning in and we'll see where the year goes. And I will constantly be updating this just like last year, mainly through the season. And we'll really get into the numbers. And what I liked about it, you guys, is that I could see where Carr was at week 10, because this just automatically adds up whatever's in these columns. So at week 10, I could see that, he was at, let's say, 2,600. Mahomes was at 3K. Phillip Rivers was at 2,700 yards. And Case Keenum was at 2,100 yards. And I could compare them weekly, and that helps me with fantasy. That helps me look at, where we might be. It helps me with the matchup per week, because I can say, well, look, we had 268 yards before. Now that we play the Chargers this week, we should hopefully have something similar, and it really was. We didn't have any interceptions, or at least it was low, right? And it was a good percentage, 65, and right here was 72. The reason I have the Broncos being swept by us next year is, look at this. We had a 90% gain, and we had a missed kick. That's why they beat us in that first one, if you'll remember. And then here we beat them. Carr threw for 73%, and he had low yardage, so, it was all running for us. Look at look at Doug Martin. He had 100 yards by himself. Nelson had some yards here. They held Cook. And we have a much better situation than this whole thing here. So 9-7 is what we're looking at. Let's put that on the board here. 9-7. I'm going to center that. 9-7 is our rough estimate. And like I said before, we'll keep tuning in and see where this goes. See you next time.